Alright, so I figured out instead of typing everything, I'm just gonna do a voice record here. So, yeah. So, to start off, to kind of with the backstory, if you haven't seen the original video, you probably know about the Pheasant and the Gong. Um, so this actually takes place first somewhere in the story of Adam and Eve. You know, the serpent that tempted, Eve and Adam to eat the fruit. So, there is a species that's not very well known, at least to the human species as of yet, that are called white scales. So, they got birthed through the serpent, who had like a, they did it. The serpent did a thing with the dragon. Yeah, that's how it happened. It's strange. I'm sorry. It's still not known how this happened, but it happened. And so that's when the white scales came to birth. Yeah. White scales are seen as spiritual snakes, basically. Basically, they're like half snake, half dragon. Like, they have dragon scales, but like everything else about them is a snake, and of course they think they're white, usually. And so, but the thing is, they can't really turn into a dragon yet. You'll see what I mean soon. They also are capable of taking a human-like form. This is also known as their spirit form or their reincarnation form. This is basically... But they can only do this in their own world. Which again, I'll get into soon. Yeah. It wasn't like later until God found out about the species that came from the serpent, to which he didn't actually punish them like you would think. In this, he actually gave them a chance. So he kind of, quote unquote, banished them to another world that's kind of like in between heaven and hell. And it's basically just a place that's really only meant for those guys. Yeah. So that's where they currently reside in. And God gave them a separate Bible. There is a separate Bible, separate commandments specifically for white scales. Yeah, exactly. This was given to them after Jesus, ascended back to heaven. And with that, they were, because, Jesus actually said, like, in secret, he wanted to help them too. He was aware of their existence. I mean, yeah, he's basically is God. And, yeah, he knew about them. He's like, maybe they don't have to be like these serpents. They don't have to be like the one who tempted Adam and Eve. We can help them out. So, yeah, that they give them their own, like, personal Bible that no other human, or no human at all, except for Jesus, who's fully man, fully God, knows about this secret, like, Bible made for the white scales. And so, in their Bible, they're referred to serpents. And just to be clear, they also know about the actual Bible. But yeah, the human, us, we really don't know about the white scale Bible. In them, there's basically a bunch of, like, commandments and telling them how they saved, and even some prophecies for them. And one of the things that they notice is that they want to know is basically a bunch of them talks a bunch of verses in them talk about hatred, revenge, a seeking of vengeance, looking for power, all kinds of crazy things described for this species is mentioned in this Bible. He speaks on how to, be free from this, and saying, how it doesn't help. It's not good for the soul. But one of the ones they see to look at the most is this one verse. For no hatred should be seen after the gong rings. This might prophesize for something you are going to hear about later. There's also some other things you should know. There's also one verse, there's a specific verse that talks about them being able to gain immortality, basically. And this was more like a test for them, kind of. That's why I think he allowed this. So, he gave me the ability to actually transform into dragons. But this can only be done by eating pheasant eggs. Like, literally, that's what it says in their Bible. And the thing is, becoming a dragon is like kind of for them like taking the mark of the beast. Again, this is a choice that he gives them. But it also is something that the devil will likely use against them. You see, if they become a dragon, they don't die physically, but like it means like death for them. Like, yeah, their immortality in the flesh, or scales as it's said in the Bible, their soul, won't be able to go to heaven. That's basically how it works. But it also says to, in the Bible that what pheasant gets their eggs eaten will be offered divinity. And again, this is likely going to be another prophecy that will be fulfilled. It also says that people are allowed to stomp the serpents if needed. Like, it obviously says it in a different way in the Bible. I'm not very good at stuff like that, but like it basically saying, like, out of self-defense, if you feel that you are in danger of seeing one of these guys, stomp it or do something to it. Because in the human world, they are in the form of, they're snake. Like, they're snake forms, Nothing too crazy. Oh, and also another little interesting thing, how, like, the flesh is mentioned in the Bible. Well, for the white scales, it's referred to as the scales. It's referred to as the scales. Then comes the Emperor Do. Do is a jerk. I will say that now. He is awful. And he is the emperor of that world. Let's just say he is prideful, a narcissist, and he just hates about every one of his own people because he doesn't care about them. He has very strict rules and he's not a good person. Not person, a good, I don't know, white scale. Yeah, so he basically, like, enslaves the species. He makes them, like, do stuff. And basically, here's the thing. So, there's a mating season kind of thing going on for, like, white scales. I forgot to mention that they are able to also disguise themselves in human-like forms. Not their spirit human forms, I'm talking about actual human forms to try and find mates. Like, it's usually around the time of spring that they try to find a mate. And, that's how their species expands. And, like, usually, like, the people they find to mate usually say, like, can you not talk about this? Or else, you usually have a threat that comes afterwards in some sort of way that's kind of either revolves around violence or just haunting them, I guess, in a way, and basically, so that's why not really anybody knows about them, because some people like to keep it quiet. But yeah, for when Do says, if you don't find a mate by the end of spring, during the season, you will work for me. You will be my servant until the next mating season. And if, of course, you don't find a mate then you just gonna have to keep serving me until you do. Yeah. Yeah, he's a piece of garbage. Yeah. Yeah, and I'm telling you this, almost every white scale in that world hates him. But they don't hate him as much as they hate Satan. I'll just say that now. Yeah, they hate Satan, but they're also sinners. Okay? They're kind of basically like everybody else on this planet Earth, but they are like horrible sometimes. Not necessarily because they do things wrongly, but which they do. But it's just their hearts are just so full of anger. Okay? Anger. Then we got Zenshi and Kai. They're siblings, by the way. Zenshi is the sister, a bit of a younger sister of Kai. Kai is her brother. Well, let's just say Zenshi is kind of a brat. Well, sort of. She has serious anger issues. I'll just say that first off. Like, I'm talking serious anger issues. Like, think of a toddler throwing a temper tantrum, but it's a 1,000-year-old spirit, half dragon, half snake, just screaming at people, and sometimes breaking things. And sometimes she'll call it righteous anger, like how Jesus flipped over tables. Maybe this could be the case because it's mostly when it's mostly directed towards Do. Again, they're stupid and ugly emperor. Yeah, because let's just say Zenshi kind of does not really look forward to mating season because she just isn't really into love. Romance. She can't find herself loving a human. She just can't see it that way. And well, of course, like I said before, if you don't find a mate by the end of mating season, you have to serve Do until the next one. And to which she has been serving him for years. And at this point, she got used to it. She still hates it. Like, she very much makes it clear. And she literally always says, one day I'm going to get back at you. One day I will get back at you. I forgot to mention, crap. If you become a dragon, like if you eat pheasant eggs and you become a dragon, well, then you're basically seen as like a royal guard for Do. Yeah, so yeah, even then you're still not really safe from serving him. But he respects you a little more. But sometimes... For Zenshi, she wanted to become a dragon to get back at him. To, say that I am higher than you now. Basically. But this was also a manipulation tech from Satan. Yeah, he bugs white scales too. They're not even safe from Satan's stupid stuff. So, and we'll usually tempt her by, talking about some, hey, you want to seek revenge on the Emperor? Become a dragon and prove yourself higher. And trust me, it was working. It was working. Now, Zenshi, like everyone else, does not like the devil. Trust me, she doesn't. But she's also just in so much rage that she's kind of just at this point saying, maybe it's not a bad idea. Now Kai, of course, is trying to say, don't listen to the deceiver, don't listen to the devil. You don't know what you're doing. And by the way, Kai and Zenshi do get along pretty well as siblings. Kai is probably the only, probably only one of her species that she doesn't automatically lash out at when she's angry. But again, she mostly does it to Do. But Kai, her brother, she respects. But yeah, Zhangxi at that one point, she didn't really lash out, but she did yell, like, "Shut up! you don't, you, I don't know what I'm doing. He doesn't seem to know what he's doing either. I'm just trying to help you and everyone else in this world. If I have to go against God, then so be it." And then apparently she left to go to the human world to eat the pheasant eggs. And basically, that's kind of where you see the story of the pheasant and the gong play out, like at least the beginning of it, like I showed you in that short. You know, but there's also some things I want to point out that connect with this AU. You may have seen how, like, the snake went kind of slow towards the pheasant eggs, but that's basically Zhangxi kind of hesitating because she's like, am I really doing the right thing? And yeah, I mean, like, yeah, she did attack the pheasant, but she still kind of hesitated. And of course, Chao Fu, which apparently is the name of the woodcutter according to his short, which I am naming him in this AU too, as well. You know, obviously does, you know, eventually, you know, take down Zhangxi. And yeah, she dies. At least in her snake form. However, it's not over for her. Her spirit then basically... Hold on a second. Sorry, you just messaged me. I wanted to see what you were saying. But yeah, continuing on. And by the way, thank you. Anyway, continuing on, like I said. Crap, I forgot what... Yeah, when a white snake dies, they kind of just go back to their world. But they can't go back to the world in their snake form. They either have to go back in human form or in their spirit, you know, carnation form. And let me just say, Zhangxi blew up. She absolutely almost destroyed, like, the entire like, area of where Du resided out of pure rage. That is how bad sometimes that white scales can get when it comes to anger or just wrath in general. That's what God was warning about. Because he knew that these guys was gonna be full of hatred, anger, and of course seeking for vengeance, which is what Zhangxi wanted to do. Get back at the woodcutter that killed her. And Kai's hearing about this, he wasn't even happy either. Heck, he said, "No, you know what? I'll get him for you. I'll get him for." No, saying she wanted to do it herself. And, like, again, I just want to clarify that in the apparent story, apparently this takes place, like, a few years later. For them, time works differently in their world, so for them, it's like a few weeks later, to which then, yeah, he is when she decides to trick him. Yeah, so, yeah, white scales do have a very strange power of causing physical hallucinations. Like, they're really something that's not really there, but they can make it there. You can feel it, interact with it, hear it, touch it, everything. But it's a hallucination. It's a really strange power that they have. And, hold on. And yeah, that's what she did. You see that play out in the second part of The Pheasant and the Gong. But there's also something you should know. When, you know, Chao Fu shed his tear, and you saw that Zhangxi did, in fact, feel quite bad for it, that there was the moment of salvation. Her heart was becoming more softer. Well, yes, she still held some hatred. It was clear that she had hope. And she remembered the verse about the gong. And she used that. Almost as if she was kind of trying to test God But like while she was like staring out the window waiting for someone to ring the gong, if there was anybody ever, she prayed in her like head like, Lord, please help me with my hatred. I can't get it out of my head. Please help me. If you hear me ring the gong. And when it rang, because of the pheasant, not only was Chao Fu's life saved, but hers as well. And when you see Zhangxi fading away, she it looks like she's getting banished, but no, that's actually her going to heaven. Yeah. That's her going to heaven. She's being accepted into heaven, just like the pheasant was accepted. And basically became one of the angels, which is said to reign on the Day of Judgment. Now that was the prophecy of that one verse that everyone was talking about. They realized she was a prophet and they didn't even know about it. Heck, she didn't even know. That proved that this species could definitely actually be saved. And, forgiven. It didn't take long for all the white scales, the species to hear about this and think that, oh my gosh, this is a miracle. A prophecy has been fulfilled. We can be saved. Oh, Lord Jesus, thank you. Not Kai. Kai was furious. You see, he knows what happened to his sister. He knows that, she's now in heaven. She wouldn't be happy for her. But he's mad because of how it happened. It happened suddenly, and because she died from a woodcutter. So, yeah, and again, they were close, okay? He's grieving to the point where it's just, he doesn't even care what really happened. He's just angry, and he wants vengeance. Vengeance, that's what he's looking for. But also it's because, Du is not really caring about all the whole thing. Even making fun of Kai for losing his sister. So yeah, there you go. And in return, Kai then promises, if she's not gonna get back at you, I will. And so basically there he goes. But the thing is, he also wanted to get back at Chao Fu, the woodcutter, the person who killed his sister. And he decided to kind of go down the same route that Zhangxi did, attempting to eat pheasant eggs. His time, he didn't hesitate. He was literally going to go for it because he had so much anger in his heart. However, by the way, another pheasant nest came next to the house Chao Fu used to live in. Remember, time works differently there. Chao Fu actually moved, and someone else now lives in his house, and of course they don't know that yet. So, when he tries to eat the pheasant eggs, and of course the pheasant, just like in the original story, calling for help, and when he expected to see Chao Fu, he saw a woman. A woman. Yeah, a beautiful woman. A gardener. The woman's name was Ma Li. Ma Li was the sister of the woodcutter, Chao Fu. And she as well saw this, and then ended up taking the life of Kai. With not a bat this time, but she had like a gardening rake, and his head, detached. Enraged by this, of course, going back to that place, his world, he had a thought. That woman, despite being a literal relative of his enemy, she was beautiful. He couldn't deny it. And mating season was like right there. So he decided, you know what? I have a better idea. So he decided, if I can mate her, then I can find my way to the woodcutter. I can find my way to my enemy. And that's what he decides to do. But also he does it so he doesn't have to be a servant for Dew. So, I say a year later, in the actual world, he comes back in human form as like an old man, like to her doorstep asking for help. To which the gardener was a little suspicious since she knows about her brother's story about, the snake. And I don't know, she doesn't really, she thinks that in human form that they might have scales in their human form, so before she lets this man in, she's like, "Can I see your scales?" And the old man, shows his arms, looking confused, like, "What scales?" Because again, white snakes are actually pretty smart when it comes to human forms, or human disguises. This is basically, they don't have any replica for people to tell that they are in disguise. And to answer your question, which I forgot, sorry, how white scales will usually tell if one is in human disguise, it's basically through speaking in their head. That's something that they're able to do. Hey, just so you know, I'm in human form. Don't try nothing. So yeah, there's your answer. Not long after she lets him in, he reveals himself almost automatically. Not like what Zhengxi did, giving a whole monologue saying, "I've been looking for you for years." No, he went straight for it. And went into his humanoid spirit form. To which looks a little similar to his sister's, but his hair is just a tad more longer than hers, and the thing on her robe is, the bow, it's not bow, it's just sagging on the floor, basically. And of course he's male. So there you go. And again, Molly's freaking out, oh gosh, I'm screwed. But then he says this: "I have not come to hurt you, but I've come to seek vengeance on your relative. I will make you a deal. Be my mate and I will not hurt you. But I cannot say the same for your brother." He also gives other conditions, such as, "I will be free from my emperor and I will protect you from everything else. I will protect you. I'll be basically be your guard, basically. A guide." Which Molly hesitantly agrees to. She is scared, but she wants to also understand what exactly is going on with this species. Because when Kai mentioned "free from my emperor," she got curious. Now, she couldn't say this before because she was in such shock. But, a day later, when Kai then asked, "Now bring me to your relative," she then says, "Didn't you hear? He's dead. He died last year of a heart attack." Hearing this, Kai did smile, but he also was like, that's kind of awful. He was feeling bad for his once enemy. And then that's when he got self-conscious for a second. I was like, wait, no, I should be happy about this. Wait, what's going on? It was starting to obviously dawn on Kai that he was feeling something he's never felt before. Almost like a sort of grief. Not just for his sister, but not like the grief he had for his sister. But the grief of they didn't deserve that. A feeling of pity. Molly decides to let Kai stay for a bit, since they're basically now mates, because it's obviously seen, like, she's seen that Kai isn't evil. He's lost. He's broken. And she wants to help. To which, yeah, for a couple weeks they are together. And let me just tell you, Kai absolutely falls in love. Like, if anyone dared to approach her with any intent that he saw as bad, he'd lash out. Yeah, he kind of did something kind of forbidden. He would reveal his, like, spirit form to, like, others, if, to protect Molly. But yeah, that's there. Yeah. I think you understand what I'm saying. At some point, Kai said he had to go back for some time because, like, if he's gone for so long, the Emperor might throw a hissy fit, and will usually rely in the destruction of some of his people. You see, if white snakes are gone for too much of a long time, it gets bad. Like, that's how much of a jerk Do is. Of course, Do is pissed off and is like, "Where the hell have you been? Where have you been? Mating season is almost... No, it's not almost over. It's over already. And he didn't come back." So, like, he assumed that he was cheating. Kai explained that he did in fact find a mate. But Do still was not taking any of that, especially knowing that he thinks that he's stupid for mating the same girl who killed him. And so he decided to kind of give him a punishment. He said, "I shall strike down your mate." Yeah, exactly. Yeah, that's bad. Out of panic, Kai obviously is trying to, fight him off, but, like, he's sticking to his word and Kai can't really do anything because, again, this is Do. He's an emperor. He's powerful. So out of panic, which, keep in mind, he's been there for like a couple hours. So a few years likely went by. Oh, no, not a few years. A few months. My bad. And so, yeah, he rushes down to warn, like, Molly that she's likely going to get struck. And it's not going to be, like, by lightning. It's going to be, being, like, poisoned by him, basically. Because, like, he sent himself down there in snake form, and he is venomous. And he didn't expect what to happen next, which did not help his situation at all. Molly said, "We need to talk." And he decided that it was time to go on our separate ways. Because she felt like this wasn't true love. And the thing is, she wasn't angry at him. She very much understood that he only wanted her as a mate to be safe from the Emperor. And she did claim, "I definitely do see you as a friend, companion. I definitely think you are wonderful to be around. And I love you for that. But I don't love you with romance. I almost love you like your family." However, Kai kind of felt offended by this. Like, very offended. But even then, he still wanted to help her. Like, he started breaking down in tears, like, seriously raging. Hold on. But at the same time, he still wanted to help. But it was too late. Because while he was in his breakdown, a snake came up to her leg and bit her. And she basically died instantly from the venom. Out of complete anger and fury and straight up grief, he started to stomp down on, like, that snake that's basically supposed to be Do in a snake form. Kind of like, the verse of their Bible and the human Bible saying. And while screaming, "I rebuke you! I rebuke you! You servant of the devil!" Yeah. To which they both then retreated to their own world. And that's where it kind of got crazy. You see, Du again started to make fun of him. Lol, you lost your little girlfriend. And she didn't even love you. You cheater. To which then, Kai does something kind of crazy and says, "This is war. I shall fight you to death. Only one of us ends up in the lake of fire." Du agreed. And yeah, a whole battlefield started going on in their world. Like, other white scales started joining him, and of course his stupid dragon bodyguards started flaming at, people trying to fight him off. Even though they were kind of doing it against their own will. Yeah, they still did it, because they were scared. And so, they almost lost, too. Because, again, white scales are not immortal. They can live for many, many years, but at some point they do die. They do die, including their spirits. And so, a lot of lives were lost, unfortunately. Kai is barely trying to stand up. And it looks like, the dragons also started to turn on Du, by the way. So there's that. I know I'm explaining things, like, very rushy, but I don't really know how to describe all of what's going on here. But, he's about to go on his final blow, because now it's kind of just them fighting, Du and Kai. But then Du stops for a moment, and he kind of just stares at what appears to be something behind him. And he looks a little terrified. Kai doesn't see it. None of the other white scales see it. But behind Kai is what is seen to be an archangel. But it seems to resemble Zhangxi, his sister. She's a lot larger than she was before. And of course she looks a little different. It was described, she was described to be so beautiful she was almost unrecognizable if it wasn't for her flowy hair. She had, like the biblically accurate angel, she was basically still humanoid, like her bottom, in the bottom of her, the bottom half of her body was now like a snake. She had wings, multiple wings, and multiple, rings going around her head with multiple eyeballs and a halo, and was seen holding a sword. And, her hair was, still the same. And of course she wore like a very pretty decked up pair of armor, basically. But yeah, she was huge and she was imitating. In which he started to then hear like a ringing in his ear, you probably heard of the myth. If you hear ringing in your ear without like a complete reason, it's likely an angel trying to speak to you. And that's basically what happened with Du. Even though it was ringing, apparently he still very much understood what was actually trying to be said here. He got on his knees, and of course Kai is confused, like, what the heck, why'd you stop, what are you doing? And then, he's like, "Oh, please have mercy, Lord, do not throw me with the deceiver." I think you're starting to understand where this is kind of heading. So, with the strength that apparently this angel version of her is now giving to her brother, he starts, I'm sorry, crap. He now doesn't understand really why he's now feeling all of a sudden this, extreme power. But it felt peaceful. Like the time he had spent with, Mali, like before. Peace. After so long. Anger, gone. Vengeance, gone. But yet there was still punishment for Du to be done. And so with their like combined abilities. Like how Archangel Michael kicked Satan out of heaven. Basically the same thing. Dude got kicked out of that world. And got like sent out along with the devil to like the world. And yeah, that's basically what happened to him. And then she vanishes basically. But Kai had a feeling because he knew the presence he was feeling was something familiar. And he went on his knees and said, "Thank you, Lord. Thank you, sis." To which he kind of started to cry, thinking about both Molly and his sisters, ain't she? But then they realized we're free. We are free. We are free. And then, like, Kai becomes the new emperor. And when he does, at some point, he does encounter a pheasant that seems to resemble the one that, Molly saved, not Chaofu. And she kind of just flew by for just a second. But yeah, I kind of knew that was her. And now, like, he's the new emperor. And they still wait for Judgment Day. That's not that. I forgot to say. White Scales, they're excited for that day. Seriously, because they know that means that Satan's gonna fall, and they hate him. Remember that. But yeah, that's basically the end of this story. I don't know if I want to do a sequel, but yeah, there's that.